So she asked, what do I do with an older dog that is consistently biting the string, right? If you're playing with a ball on a string. And so if one, I want to go back, I make sure that the ball is a satisfying bite surface. So sometimes that comes from either poor presentations in the initial stages where the dog's got the string, or teaching the dog to bite a ball on a string with a ball that's too hard, and they bite it and they slip off a couple of times, and then they get the string, and the string's easy to hold on to. So they start actually actively avoiding the ball and trying to get the string, all right? And so what I'll do typically is I go back, I get a softer ball that they can get some satisfaction on, that's easy for them to hold on to. I go back and I choke up on the string a little, and I hold it above their head like this, so I don't have very much string. And when I say yes, I pop straight up, or up at an angle a little bit. So my hand is behind it. As I pull, the ball goes like that, and the string is completely hidden. There's no chance to bite the string. They hit it. And then when they get on the ball, I play with them. After I've done all that, if I see the dog, they miss and they grab the string, I think, okay, this is a dedicated dog, they're motivated, they want it, it's all good. If they bite the string, I immediately stop and say out, put them back on the ball, and I only play with them if they get the ball. If you bite the string, the play will stop. And immediately I'll stop all play and say out, we're not playing. If you bite the ball, I'll play with you. And pretty quickly they go, okay, actively, I need to get the ball. That string isn't gonna work for me, I get no satisfaction. Sometimes I'll put the dog, it's hard on your hands, but some dogs when I'm teaching, I'll put a skinny nylon string on it, right, to play with, because if they bite the string, it's not satisfying. Like those leathers, those are great. They're really nice on your hands. I play with all my dogs with the leather ones once they learn the game, because it's easier to hold on to and it doesn't cut up your hands. If I have a cord one, or the nylon cord ones, they're really hard on your fingers, especially if I have a dog that plays really hard. And so I switched to the leather ones, but if you start with the leather ones, a lot of dogs when they bite it, they're like, ooh, this is kind of nice. It's like a leather tug, I like this. It's easier to hold on to than the ball, and that feels good. So make sure their targeting is good before you switch to those type of handles, and if you make a less satisfying handle, sometimes that can help with it as well. But it's mostly presentation. And people are scared to get their fingers, but you can see the ball and the string, the dogs slip off, it gets kind of crazy. And some dogs are just launching. As soon as they slip off, they're like, ah! And so it's easy to get bit. A lot of the crazy dogs, if they slip off, I just go, bam. I throw it right on the floor, like, there you go, get that thing, because they'll just keep flying back at you. And I've learned to position myself in such a way that if they were to slip off and go for it, my body's not near it. That's why I turn sideways like that all the time. So if they did try to bite it again, or they slipped off and launched at it, I'm not in their way. They're not going to accidentally nail me, and we do that. And some dogs are very indiscriminate. They're going for the ball. They're not trying to bite you, but if it's arcing at a funny angle, they'll just launch, and when it's not there and you are, they'll bite you too. And so you do have to be a little bit careful with some dogs playing with the ball and a string. It's much better if you go to the ball and a string after you've taught targeting with a tug. Because if I can get to the point where my dog can hit a tug, a small tug with just room for their mouth between my hands, if I get to the point where they can target that, then their targeting's really good. And so getting them onto the ball and a string, and they know how to out already, getting them onto the ball and a string is easier. The ball and a string is very hard to teach the dog to out off of if they don't know an out already, because if they're pulling against it, you can't hold it still without providing opposition. And so one of the things when we teach a dog to out, you saw when Jessie was immobilizing the tug for her puppy, she braced her arms, but there was no tension on the tug. She wasn't pulling back like this. She went down and held it still, but her hands were like this. She wasn't pulling. She got still. She made her arms stiff and put them on her knees for the puppy. Now, she's not pulling against that tug at all. It's just motionless, right? With a ball and a string, if I go to hold it still and the dog pulls back, to prevent them, unless I'm going with them over and over again, then I'm pulling the opposite direction. So my mouth is saying let go, and my hand is saying play tug with me. So when I'm teaching the dog to out, I have to be able to take the energy out of the object, right? So sometimes I have to put a leash on the dog for the dogs that pull with a ball and a string. I hold the leash in my hand, I'm tugging, and then when I say out, I block them with the leash and I bring the toy forward so I'm not pulling on it, it's dead. And they let go off of that. Eventually they have to let go of an object with energy in it. But in the beginning that just creates a lot of conflict because I'm giving them two separate signals. I'm saying out, but I'm still pulling against the object that's in your mouth. And that's been a signal that we're playing still. And so that dog says, you're saying out, but you're still playing with me because you're pulling. still. And so being able to take energy out of the object and immobilize it is really useful, and that's hard to do with a ball and a string during the teaching phase. But once my dog gets it, then it's easier to transfer it onto the ball and a string.